name is Mary Johnson, and I am going to facilitate this morning.
Who started? Good morning.
Okay. My name is Mary Johnson. I'll be facilitating this morning along with Mr. Winston Robinson here. We also have other facilitators, Ms. Laura McClady, Carlenia Ivory Canty, Nathalie McGarrett, and Nathalie is our timekeeper. As you can see, we have Mr. Steve Johnston on the computer website. We have Shay Abdullah sitting beside Mr. Johnston. We have Gary Young, and I think I have named everybody. Okay, thank you. I said Jackie Walton Edwards. Ms. Walton.
JW.
JW.
Richard the house band.
Thank you.
Richard our house band.
Oh, got it right here, Mr. Thomas Moore, our musician. Our musician. Okay, well, he got here. Mr. King Kuntz is going to grace us with a prayer.
Just in time, Rev.
Every kid.
You bring his collection.
Well, if y'all want to anoint me bishop, I may as well start looking like one. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for another day, another chance to get it right, another chance to be patient, another chance to be faithful, another chance to be vigilant, but also a chance to be active. So whatever we do today, oh God, may it be pleasing in your sight, but also beneficial to others, especially those who are less fortunate, and those who are in power. May they be, well, I'll leave that to you, God, but may we all remember who we are, and most importantly, whose we are. This prayer I ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Okay, do we have any first timers here? Anyone here for the first time? Wonderful. We would like for you to, we'd like for you to just introduce yourself. You don't have to stand up, just introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Harriet Mending Hall. I am one of those that was born and reared as an old folks St. Charlotte, West Side. All right. I am the secretary for the Charlotte Mecklenburg NAACP. And it's nice to be here. It's early, but I made it.
That's right. Thank you so much for coming. And come back. Somebody else.
Hi, I'm Mimi Davis. I'm president of the East Charlotte Coalition of Neighborhoods. And I had the pleasure of having breakfast the other day with Yolanda Holmes. And we talked about a program that we have with the neighborhoods. We put out a magazine. I put some copies back there. And we, in this issue, we really started a page called Good News from the Schools. And our point is that it doesn't do any good often to argue the point of charters or privates versus public schools, because you're probably not going to win that argument. So what we can do instead is we can talk about public schools, only about public schools. And we call the schools and say, tell us something good that happened. And then we publish that. And this week we're going to interview some teachers of the year from East Charlotte. And then starting in the fall, we'll start talking about things that the schools want to do maybe differently as they go back to school in the fall. So that every time you open our magazine, you see a full page on public school successes. And Yolanda was saying, you know, we need to expand that maybe. We have a board, we're funded by United Way, but perhaps there's more that we can do for the public schools in East Charlotte. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you so much, and thank you for what you do. And come back often. Okay, for our new first-time visitors, our forum runs from 8:30 until 10 o'clock. At 9:45, we'll pause for announcements from the audience. Announcements. And we've already had our prayer. I want to ask you to take a moment to silence your phone. If your phone is on, if you can put it on vibrate or turn it off. And I do want to make one comment to the group before we begin, and that is, as you know, and you've seen here, we are expecting the national president and CEO, Mr. Derek Johnson, of the NAACP. The NAACP will have their national convention here in Charlotte this summer, and so that's going to be a really big deal, okay? So his plane is supposed to land shortly. If it hasn't already landed, it will take a while for him to get here, but he won't be here, I'm sure, until maybe 9:30, 9:45, something like that. So we invite you to stay to hear him, and he's going to be presenting. And we are virtual, so people are watching us from everywhere. So when he comes in, we're going to sort of like end the scholarship, just because we should be near the end anyway, and let him present. So with that being said, I want to introduce our guests today, and they are representing local scholarship programs. Okay? We have Ms. Kayla Brown. She's with Ernst Young College Map Program. And we have Mr. Aaron Randolph. He's the co-founder and executive director of the Carolina Youth Coalition. Okay, we have one more person. They're not here. Maybe when they come in, we'll have them to come and introduce himself. So what I'm going to do is let each of you give your presentation, and then we'll take questions from the audience. And remember to raise your hand, and we will call on you in the order that you raised your hand. So you may begin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank y'all for having me and giving us this opportunity to share about our organizations. As was said, my name is Aaron Randolph. I'm executive director and co-founder of Carolina Youth Coalition. I'm a native of Florida, but I've been in Charlotte for about 7 years. Had the opportunity to, prior to coming to Charlotte, work for an organization called the Baton Rouge Youth Coalition in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I relocated in Charlotte through a funder who was supporting that organization, interested in bringing that to Charlotte. Had the opportunity to replicate that program here in Charlotte. Our organization was founded in 2018, and our mission is to nurture and propel high-achieving, under-resourced students to and through college. And so while we do give scholarships, we have a comprehensive program that begins in 9th grade and stays with students all the way through their time in college, whether that be 2-year or 4-year college. We began in 2018 with 40 high school students and have grown pretty significantly since then. This semester we have 320 high school students in our program, as well as about 180 students who are in what we call our College Fellows program. So we stay with them during their transition to college and then help them find internships and jobs or pursue graduate studies as they graduate from college. Our high school program is what's most notable and where the majority of our effort is spent. We have an after-school program that's facilitated at 2 locations, one in East Charlotte, just off Monroe Road, the other in Steel Creek. And so out of those 2 areas, we run a after-school program where our students come once a week and engage in a number of different activities, from academic tutoring, ACT prep, writing classes, career exploration, leadership development, and then we have a one-to-one mentoring program for all of our high school seniors. A little bit about our success to this point. So since 2018, we have sent 230 students to college. Those 230 students have earned $74 million in scholarships and have redeemed about $26 million to the actual schools they're going to. We're very intentional about ensuring, yes, we can open up the doors to higher education for particularly first generation and lower income students, but not doing so in a way that's going to expose them to crippling amounts of student loan debt. So probably the thing we're most proud of at this point is 74% of our students that we've sent to college are attending completely debt-free. And of those who are taking out loans, they're taking out on average about $1,300 a year, which is significantly less than the North Carolina loan average of $9,000 per year.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kayla Brown. I am a senior associate here at Ernst & Young. As most of you probably know, it's a professional services firm. And so I've been at the firm for almost 3 years, coming up here in May. And I'm actually a Charlotte native. So I was born in DC, but I've lived in Charlotte since I was 4. So I went to Valley Creek High School. Then I went and got my associate's degree from CPCC. I went to Winthrop University on a basketball scholarship, and then I went to NC State for my master's in accounting. So you can say I have not gone far. Like, I've always stayed around Charlotte. So to give you a little bit of background about the college MAP program at Ernst & Young, so it's a multi-year program where we mentor 11th grade and 12th graders. And so we have bi-monthly sessions where we talk to them about financial literacy, we talk to them about scholarships, and we really want to make sure that the students who are unrepresented, so they're usually first-generation college students, so we talk to them about the financial aid process, because more likely than not, they have never went through it before, and they don't have the resources, right? And so we walk through them with that. And so our goal is to really make sure that they're equipped with the skills that when they go to college, that a lot of this stuff isn't new to them, right? They understand what it's like to pick a major. What have you thought your major will want to look like? And it's actually interesting because today we're actually sending some of our juniors on a campus tour to North Carolina A&T, and it's fully funded. We take them and we make sure we expose them to what it's like to be on a college campus. What is it that you think you want to do when you get to college? All these different type of things, because again, like, they're not exposed to it, and so the more you're exposed to something, the more you know what you don't know. And so that's the good thing about this program, is that they're able to be around professional services, professionals like myself, and they get introduced to an atmosphere in which they're just not used to. And as far as our success thus far, over the 15 years that we've been for the Charlotte City, we have raised $5 million in scholarships for our students. And so more time than not, they go on to 4-year universities. We have an ECU summer camp over the summer where it's fully funded. They get to stay for a week in the dorms to talk to financial aid personnel, to just be on campus and live on campus and really get a feel of what it's like to be in college, right? So that's the good part about it, is it has a scholarship component, but a lot of it is just really tutoring and being a mentor to them. And it doesn't stop when they leave high school. They still go through a part called persistence. So we have access, which is why they're in high school, and then after high school, there's what we call persistence, where we continue to give them knowledge and we continue to provide scholarship for them to make sure that they can stay in school if they face financial hardship. So those are the things that we try to do to make sure that they not only get to college, but then they also are able to stay and matriculate and be able to be successful while they're there.
So typically we get grant guests up to 20 minutes each for a time, and you guys finished, which appears to be about 7. So we're going to ask you to talk about yourself and what got you to this space, what made this. Aaron, I know this is a passion project of yours, so let us know how you got here. Give us a little background on who you are.
Yeah, so I mentioned I'm from Lake City, Florida, which is a small town in rural North Florida. I did my undergraduate studies at Cornell University, and after that I was undecided about kind of where I wanted to do career-wise. I decided to do a year with AmeriCorps, so I did a full year of volunteer service through a program called City Year, and that took me to, originally the first time, to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I spent a year making $800 a month on a living stipend as a full-time mentor and tutor to a cohort of students who were at least 3 grade levels behind in 9th grade. So my job working with this group of students was, 1, to keep them in school, and then 2, try to catch them up to where they should be in grade level. And for me, my time during AmeriCorps really was transformative in terms of, I worked with a lot of young people who maybe didn't have the best grades maybe weren't seen as great students or didn't fit into the traditional model of schooling. But you could see were clearly very bright and intelligent and had potential. But just simply due to the circumstances, kind of maybe what neighborhood or their family structure, they weren't necessarily set up to succeed in that way. So for me, that was kind of the catalyst for wanting to pursue a career in education and wanting to be a part of a movement to make sure that all young people have what they need to succeed and that potential is not wasted wherever it is. So I left that AmeriCorps program. I went to do a graduate program, the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and then decided to go back to Baton Rouge and started my career as a middle school or high school and then middle school social studies teacher, actually. During my time teaching, I had the opportunity to work at some pretty challenging schools, and I think one of the toughest parts of that when you are a teacher, you're dealing with so many different competing priorities, right? Some of them academic, some of them social, all sorts of things. The school I worked in particular was a charter school, actually, my first school. We actually had a part-time guidance counselor. And so as far as helping kids navigate college or what was after high school, there just wasn't much resource for them in that way. So as a teacher, first year teacher, I'm spending my money helping kids apply to college, Southern University there in Baton Rouge, helping them complete the FAFSA, et cetera, and stepping in wherever I could as far as what I knew. And that really stuck with me a couple years later when I came across an organization called the Baton Rouge Youth Coalition that was founded specifically to work with young people who maybe come from a family where they're the person to attend college or come from a lower income family where there would be significant financial barriers to attend college. And that message really resonated with me. And so I ended up working there, and that led to my work here with Carolina Youth Coalition. I did forget earlier too in our pitch. So as far as who we particularly work with, we identify students through our school partners as well as other community organizations who refer young people to us. This year we have high school students from about 42 different schools throughout the Charlotte area. Most of them are from CMS, but that's one of the unique things about our after school program particularly is not only young people getting access to these college prep resources, but they're able to be a part of a community of like-minded peers and young people who are trying to achieve a lot of the same goals that they're achieving from all different parts of the city. And so it's really cool that they build a support system and support network for each other, and a lot of them end up going to the same colleges and becoming roommates, and those relationships really sustain. So that's how I got into the work.
So for me, education has always been something that's deeply personal to me. So my parents, they're from the Bronx, New York, had a tough life, and they wanted to make sure that my brothers and I didn't go through those same challenges. And so from an early age, I can remember just education, education, education. So while I did play basketball, you would have never thought so, because my parents was like, it's always or nothing, right? Like, sports was important, but it was not more important than academics. And so for me, it's always been important that kids have someone in their life that sees something in them and pushes them to do more. And so for me, it was my parents. And so now that I'm getting older, I've realized that now it's like I'm that torch now, and I have to carry that forward to the next generation. And so for me, I think being a part of something like EY College Math and this mentorship program, it really allows me to be able to sometimes see myself in students where you can tell they just need a little push, right? They just need somebody to just see something in them. They just need someone to say, hey, look, I got you. I see you if you need me. Kids need to know that their value goes beyond just what they might see other people look at them as, right? Like, you are intelligent, you are smart, you might be struggling, but it's not due to lack of intelligence, it might be due to a lack of resources, right? So how can we put the right people around you to make sure that you are able to able to succeed, right? Like, I don't look at myself as special, I just look at myself as, I had parents that really cared about me, and they would do anything to make sure we went to tutoring and make sure we had SAT tutors, and when I was in the 7th grade, like, those are the type of things that my parents set up for me, but not everybody has that luxury. And so it's like, how can I make sure that now the kids coming behind me have those resources, and if they don't, how can you make sure that we put that around them so that they have an equal chance of success just like any other kid, right? And I don't think the lack of finance should be an impediment to these kids being able to have those resources and having a chance, right? Because a lot of the times what we see is really their environment, or the people that are not being able to give them that level of guidance that they need. So for me, it's something that's really, really important to me. And I look at it as something that it's my responsibility and the responsibility of those that I work with to be able to give back as much as possible to this community that I love to as well. So it's deeply personal, and I take great pride in doing it, because while my day job is looking at numbers and being an accountant, this is what fulfills me. This is what gives me purpose and drive. And so I feel like my life would be a little less interesting and less dull and less meaningful if I didn't do something like this within my community to make sure that the students coming behind me had the same resources or more that I had.
Nicely done. Way to be improv. Okay, yeah, good improv. So we got 5 till 9. We got Mr. Coons for the first question.
This question to the council. Little lady, what grade you in? Clearly you guys reflect what this forum has sorely needed for a long time. We have needed to know about you and to offer a platform on which you can promote your services. My question to you is in regards to what it is that you do. Are any of you familiar with a former program, I don't know if it still exists now, called Campus Connection?
That's what I heard of.
Okay, that's a whole other issue. But on a scale of 1 to 10, each of you rate your experience here in Charlotte in terms of meeting the effectiveness of what it is that you do.
I rate us at an 8 right now. And I say 8 because I think we have done a really great job of getting our population into and through college. So of the 230 we sent to college at this point, 96% of them have either completed their program or are still enrolled, working toward completion. Where the next step is for us is to figure out how we be more of a bridge and a catalyst to help our graduates pay that off with a job and a well-paying job. And so that's working through a lot of our corporate partners and sponsors to say, yes, we're grateful for this grant, supporting them while they're in high school, while they're in college, but we have young accountants, or we have young engineers, or we have young marketing majors or whatever, we're also looking for careers as graduates. And ultimately, I think while our work is about education, I think it's more so about economic mobility and how college is not the end all be all by any means. There are a lot of different avenues that people can make a good living, but how can we use the college degree specifically as a lever to help young people change their economic circumstances and generational trajectory? So we still have a little bit of work to go in that way.
I would say for UR College of Math, I would say it's, with Charlotte specifically, I would say it's probably around an 8. The reason why I say that is we are only at Olympic High School, so that's the only high school that we partner with. And so I think with that, knowing that we only partner with one, I think sometimes we could probably be missing other students at other high schools and other institutions that could well benefit from the resources that we provide to the students at Olympic. But I think overall with being able to just, the caveat is that we're able to only focus on the students at Olympic, so all of our attention goes in them. We don't have any other as schools or students that are competing for our priority or our attention because we are so busy, right? Like I do have a day job, but we all as mentors make the priority to go talk to the students once a month. We make sure to have these sessions. We make sure to have an end of year banquet and things of that such. And not only that, but once the students go to college, they still have us as resources. And so I think that's the beautiful thing is that we're still not only being able to be with them through high school, but we are able to see them as they matriculate throughout college and make sure that they not only have the resources, but they have that person behind them still pushing them, saying, hey, look, you still got it. You might be going through this rough patch, but hey, look, we're still here. And not just because you left, but we're still going to make sure that you have those resources to continue to succeed. But I think with EY being such a global firm, we have EY College Map in 38 cities. So we have it in Atlanta, we have it in New York. So that's the beautiful thing about this program is that it's not just seated here in Charlotte, but that students all across the United States have an opportunity to be a part of a program like this. And I think that's where our impact goes further than Charlotte is that students across the country have access to mentors like myself and the resources that not only the students here in Charlotte get, but like I said, students across the country. So I think it's more that we can do in Charlotte for sure, but I think with just focusing on the Olympic, it does allow us just to focus our time and attention on these students as they matriculate from 11th to 12th, and then we get a brand new bunch of students and we do the same thing over again. So that's the beauty in it is that they just get all of our attention throughout their time there.
Hello, good morning, how you doing? My question, I believe, is more for you, Aaron. With the Youth Coalition, is there a certain age that goes to? I guess, and also my other side of that question is, do you help students that have recently graduated, like if they've already graduated and they haven't made a transition or don't know or don't have the financial ability to go to college or don't think that they have access to the funds to do such things? Do you help out people in that area as well?
Thanks for that question. So on the first one, we start with young people as early as 9th grade. So right now they can come in as actually we're accepting applications right now for students and families that want to start next fall. The application is open, I think, until June 1st on our website. But yeah, so any from rising 9th graders, and then we'll accept them through 11th grade is when we stop accepting them. But we're part of a coalition of several organizations called the Crescent Coalition that is about 11 different college and career readiness organizations spanning from middle school through post-secondary. So usually when people reach out and they're in that situation, like they've already graduated or they're older, we try to refer them to another program or another resource that works with that particular population. But right now, we're only really set up to accept them while they're in high school.
Hey, good morning. First of all, I'm gonna say wow. I mean, I cannot be more proud of the two of you and what you all are doing. I've had the opportunity to visit and participate in both of what both of you guys are doing. You're not only making a difference, but you're changing lives. So how can the community get a chance to see firsthand what you are doing, whether it's at your location or the graduation of the students? Can you talk about how the community can see with their own eyes of the impact that you are making with the kids?
So Malcolm, like you mentioned, so at the end of each school year, we have what we call the end of year banquet for the students. And so this is just for seniors, those who are about to graduate. And we like to have this as an event where people in the community can come out and really get to see what the students have been doing this year and get to see their matriculation, what university they're going to go to, what major they've decided upon, how much scholarship they might have gotten. So that's like the beauty in it is that at the end of the year, we really get to see how this program has impacted their life, and they get to give testimonials of how important it's been to them. Their parents are there as well, celebrating them. We also are able to give them some good goodies. They don't know this, but we give them free laptops when they go to school because, as you know, not everybody has the ability or the means to buy a laptop. And as now in the world of 2025, I think that's super important. So at the end of the year, coming up here actually on May 21st from 6 to 8, if anybody's interested, we love to have people in the community come out. We really just get to see what these young students are doing and how bright of a future they have because of being a part of a program like this, and just also because their own fortitude and their own desire to want to go to school, right? Like we play a role in it, but a lot of it is just the kids. They have that drive within them, and they just needed somebody to see it in them, just spark it in them. So super exciting and rewarding to be able to see how far the students have come throughout the year, just how grateful they are to be a part of a program like this.
When is the event?
Yes, it's gonna be May 21st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and I'll be able to give more information as well at the end of it, and I'll make sure that you're aware.
Unfortunately, we just had our college signing day on Sunday, so I can't invite you to that. We had 83 of our seniors announce where they're going to school. It's a really cool moment that they share with their families. We're on all social media platforms and LinkedIn, so definitely we actually have one of our alumni who runs all of our communications, and she does an awesome job of sharing information, sharing stories. I would say the way I would highlight is to get involved. So we do have volunteer opportunities. One in particular that we are in huge need of is mentors. So as I mentioned earlier, we match each of our high school seniors with a mentor that we train to be a one-to-one guide and support for them throughout their senior year, primarily through the college application process. I applied to college a few years ago. There may be some folks who applied a little bit longer than that ago. But you don't have to be a college admissions expert or familiar. We have a training that we take volunteers through before you get matched with your student, and then throughout the year as well. We have we'll have 110 seniors, high school seniors in our program next year. We're still in need of about 30 mentors for our senior class next year. So we'd love to have folks get involved as mentors, and then I do tours at either of our locations as well. So my information is on our website. If you'd ever love to come do a tour and see the facility, I'd be happy to host you.
Good morning. First, I'd like to commend you on your leadership skills. As you see my cap, I got mine from my parents and boot camp. I'm not sure how old you are, but who influenced you the most? And about what time during your life did you understand and realize you had these leadership skills? Because it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing, especially when it's positive and you're dealing with people.
Who influenced me the most? Kind of going back to what I said earlier, my parents really being able to truly understand, while I might not ever fully understand what they've gone through in their life, but to have parents that like truly care about your success. So my parents are actually in the military, so I think that kind of goes back to kind of their military discipline in the sense that they're very strict. So I'm one of 4. I'm a triplet actually, so I have 2 brothers same age as me. Yeah, I'm a triplet, so 2 brothers the same age as me. One is actually in the Navy, so he just commissioned as an officer. I got one that lives in Seattle. He works for Boeing, and I got an older brother. And so my parents, from an early age, like I said before, it was just strictly academics, because they understood that while sports and stuff is important, academics is truly going to be the only thing that gets you to where you want to get to in this life. So they just stressed the importance of it, and my dad always told me that, hey, look, like leaders lead from the front, not the back. And so I was a basketball player, so he was hard on me then. Like I played point guard, and that's a lot of you know they take all the heat when it's good, and they take all the heat when it's bad. And so my dad has always just stressed this idea that, hey, look, like you control your own narrative. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do anything. Don't let anybody make you feel like you got to be in a box. And so for me, just have people like that. My parents being the first people in my life that like truly believed in my vision, always spoke positivity over my life. It just always told me I could do anything, but you also have to put in the work, right? Like nothing's gonna come just out of thin air. And so for me, that just has always been a driving force to make sure I'm the hardest worker in the room, right? Like I might not be the smartest, I'm not gonna be the tallest, but you're gonna know that I have this work ethic. And so now for me, now that I'm older, it's like, okay, yeah, you've done all this, but now how can you make sure other people can tap into their own greatness or their own drive or whatever that they have within them? How do you help people tap into that? And so my parents, again, like I give them all the credit. Like you see me up here, but I'm not me without my parents first putting this desire, this drive into me, and now me being the person I am, because I represent them. I represent the people that believe in me, and so that's why I do the things that I do, because I know it's just not me that I represent up here. I represent a whole group of people and a whole group of community that is wanting to see me succeed.
Good answer. Thank you.
Ms. Colleen.
Gary, and then
Gary just went. Aaron has to go, I'm sorry.
I agree with Kayla as well. So my parents, I don't think you realize, I don't know at what age I realized this, but until you get older, how fortunate you are to have just a supportive and loving environment to be raised in. And so I'm grateful to my parents for doing that. My parents so my mom passed away about 5 years ago, but my parents were both physicians. My mom was a pediatrician. My dad was a family physician. Both of them came from very humble circumstances. Found their way to Dartmouth College, met each other, both went to medical school, and then I came later. What I've learned from them and observed from them, they work very hard. So I'm from a very rural area. I didn't grow up with many, especially many of my Black friends, didn't have parents that went to college. So my parents, for a lot of folks, were kind of the role models to look up to. And I think that they embraced that. In 2002, after practicing medicine for about 20 years or so, they actually bought out the medical practice they were working for and own their own now. So Randolph Medical Practices, and they're in Lake City, and my dad's still practicing. I got a chance to see firsthand, that all sounds good, but the amount of work, hard work, late nights, frustration with employees, being able to give people opportunities for employment, that they went through with that experience. And so I'm grateful not only for what they poured into me, but what I got to see them pour into the community that we grew up in. I'd probably be remiss to say, or to not say while I'm holding this microphone, I'm also grateful for just the church community I was raised in. One from a faith standpoint, but I grew up in a church that made you do Easter speeches and Christmas speeches and Sunday school summaries and everything. And so, especially when it comes to speaking to people, I'm an introverted person, but I was made to do that when I was younger, and so it comes as second nature now. So I'm grateful for all that my church community poured into me as well.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks to both of you, just great young people. And I want to say that you're both blessed to have had parents that were influencers in your life. Mary already told what's the point of privilege. I want to say, I would love to, Aaron, get to know you. I work for Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools and see how we can help you or you can help us. And young lady, you're affiliated with EY.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there someone in this room that has assisted you?
come on, say Michael Coley.
Malcolm Coley. Well, I want all of y'all to know, Malcolm, please stand. Malcolm is the one who started the $1 Million Scholarship in my name for Johnson Free School. At this point, we are starting in October, and we're over $500,000, and that's because of Malcolm. Malcolm not only did that for me, but there's so many others, and you are so blessed to have him in your life.
Amen.
So I have a question now. Oh, well, all right, no, I don't.
My question was gonna be that you answered, but could you tell us about your parents and their background and how you view them and any other institutions that you felt were important and strengthened you as an individual?
So like I mentioned before a little bit, so my parents from the Bronx, New York, both grew up with parents that, to be candid, was on drugs. My dad's dad passed away when he was young. So he lived with his grandmother in New York, and he was in and out of doing things that he shouldn't have been doing in the streets. So one day he packed up his bags and moved to DC. But this was after he was in the military, so he went into the reserves, the Army Reserves, and that helped him get away from his environment. And so he met my mom when he was 16 years old, and they've been together ever since. They're still together. And my mom, she was smart. She was one in school, and my dad was the one trying to get at her when he was outside of school skipping class. And she was like, I don't want to deal with somebody like that, because she knew with the type of people that kind of affiliate with those type of things. But my dad was different, and I guess she saw that, and she stayed with him, and she went into the military as well, because like I said, she didn't have any parents or anybody to guide her as well. And so she ended up going into the military, then moving to DC. My dad started working into IT. So he made his own business when he was up in DC. He started his own IT networking engineering business while he was up there. And so that really allowed them to kind of get their foundation and really kind of start building financially, but then also just kind of building this foundation for our family. They had my older brother when they lived in DC, as he's 7 years older than us. And so while they were in DC, they had me and my triplet brothers. And so from there was a lot of complications when we were born and all these type of things. And in the NICU for 3 months, it was a whole lot of things. And so my dad decided, hey, look, like the kids are obviously very sick and things as such, and they don't know if we're going to be mentally disabled at this point. It was just a lot of things that were going on. I had a collapsed lung. My brothers had a bleeding in their brain, and they thought that we were going to have cerebral palsy. And so there was all these things that the doctors was telling my parents. And so they was like, hey, like don't be surprised if your kids are delayed in their development. And so for my parents, it was like, okay, so this is another challenge. And so my dad told my mom, hey, I think you need to be a stay-at-home mom. And my mom at the time, she was working in the federal government, going back to school to get her accounting degree, which is interesting enough. And so my mom, she was a stay-at-home parent for me and my triplet brothers for 12 years. And so we moved down here in 2004. So over the summer, my mom would make sure that we did schoolwork for the grade that we were going into. So my parents are very strict, like I said before. No TV throughout the school week. It was only homework, and we only did schoolwork. And then over the summer, if we were going in the first grade, we did second grade math and reading. And so we did that all the way up to 5th grade. In 5th grade, we started studying for the SAT. In 7th grade, I took my first AP exam. In the 7th grade, I also took the SAT for the first time. I took it 4 times in total. And so I said all these things, again, not to brag, but my parents were just very, very strict, and they had a literal roadmap of what me and my brothers was going to do throughout school, because they were so scared of what the doctors said about us being very delayed from an academic standpoint. And then when I was in the 11th grade, I went to CPCC, so I got my associate degree when I was in high school. So I graduated actually with my associate degree before I even graduated high school. It's an interesting story, but like I said, it goes back to my parents. They had this plan of what they wanted their kids to do, and like it was 3 of us, so they wasn't trying to pay for school for 3 kids, and so they knew the best way was to get academic scholarships. And so Fortunately enough, I got a basketball scholarship, full ride. And so I went to Randolph University and played basketball for a year and got my degree in accounting. And then my other triple brothers, they went to NC State and got full ride scholarships there as well. And one majored in computer science and the other majored in material science engineering. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me and my parents' background and kind of how it went all the way up to me and my brothers. But yeah, my parents, you would have to meet them. They're just different. They're just very interesting and compassionate and very resilient people. And I'm really just, like I said, I'm blessed to have parents like them, because not a lot of people can say that they have parents that really cared about them to this depth to make sure that they were set up for success. I don't know what your other question was. I know you asked about my parents, but did you have another question as well?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I did very unscientific research back in the days when I was faced with the fact of how to raise a daughter. And we grew up in a 99% black neighborhood. The only white people that most of the kids saw was if you went to a store. So what I started doing was asking anybody that I knew that went to college that didn't stay. I'd interview them. I'd say, what happened? And most of their problem was social. They never, ever really had any interaction with white people. I mean, all the teachers were black, everybody in the school was black. And they'd never been away from home. They spent, most of the time in that town that we lived in. So they didn't really know how to deal with being out in the world on their own. Heaven forbid they had to room with a white person. I mean, they were just lonely and just didn't want to stay. So it was hard for them to achieve anything, and they wound up dropping out. So I found a program to put my daughter in where she would be in a college setting during the summer when she was in high school, so that she wouldn't have to face that drama when she actually went to college. And I think that's the only reason that she actually achieved in life, was because she totally freaked out when she had to go on a college campus, and room with a white person. Does any of what you're doing address that type of an issue?
Yes, I think one of the benefits we have starting our program in ninth grade is we get 3 years essentially before they're applying to school to really go deep from an exposure standpoint. So whether that is experiencing campus environments or putting them in professional environments around other people that may or may not look like them. I say a good bit of our work, while it is academic in nature, is psychological, in the sense that the college transition is tough, right, for all sorts of students. But I think a lot of our students, one of the big hurdles they face is maybe imposter syndrome when they get on campus, right? So let's imagine whatever high school I went to, I was top of my class, I did really well, I maybe didn't have to study all that hard. I get to whatever university and I make that first C, D on my chemistry test. And now I'm faced with, okay, this person who I thought I was or who I have been, and now kind of my current situation. And so two things we talk to our young people about a lot. The first is not being afraid to ask for help. Because I think in a lot of, and this is not just teenagers, this is all people, but I think a lot of times when we're going through something, we think like we're the only one going through it and we got to get through it by ourselves. When in reality, particularly from a university standpoint, a lot of students that are coming from more privileged backgrounds, let's say, are coached they're going to tutoring before they have a problem. Like tutoring is just part of, I'm going to class, I already got my tutor. I don't wait until I get a D to then go to tutoring. And so getting them comfortable with asking for help from other people. The second, I would say, is coaching them on how to find their community on campus. So particularly for our young people, well, even if they are going to a HBCU, right, there's all sorts of interests and different types of people on HBCUs, but particularly if they are going to predominantly white institutions, doing our best to make them aware of the opportunities on campus for them to connect with other people who may have a similar background or similar interests, or can be a support network for them. That being said, in this current environment with a lot of the anti-DEI efforts and initiatives, I say frankly, a lot of the supports that would have been in place for a lot of our first generation college students, Black students, Hispanic students, minority students in general, are being dismissed or gotten rid of. So that part is becoming harder. So internally, at least, as far as finding that community, we do our best to make sure that if we're sending students to campuses where we already have students, that they're at least connecting with our older students and they know somebody on campus that they can ask, you know, hey, should I take this professor, or where's this dorm, or how do I get to this building, or whatever those questions may be that sometimes they're just afraid to ask or have never had to ask before. So those are two things that we work on, particularly in high school, is finding your community, but also not being afraid to ask for help.
From an EY college map perspective, I don't know if the challenge of being in spaces where they're the minority is something a topic that we discuss a lot, but I think inadvertently, through it being a group mentorship program, they are able to be mentored by someone that looks like me, but they also are able to be mentored by someone else who has a very completely different background than me. And I think that's the advantage of being a group mentoring program, is that they do get to interact with people not only like myself, but other individuals and from many different backgrounds. And I think also too, I kind of highlighted it in the beginning, we have the ECU summer program where they actually get to live on the dorms, they get to go and see what a classroom looks like, they get to actually see what it might look like if they're on campus, and they get to actually talk to some of the students. And so I think that's the good part about it, is they get that they kind of get to put their foot in the water a little bit. They don't obviously get the full experience, but I think it starts to open their mind a little bit of like, okay, this is what it'd be like when I'm on campus. And a school like ECU is not predominantly Black, so they get to have an idea like, maybe is this a space where I think I'll thrive if I'm a minority, and if this is a place that I like, how can I navigate those challenges, or how can I navigate that imposter syndrome, Aaron, like you mentioned, because that is something that would probably come up for them, not only being a first generation student, but they don't know what they don't know, and you're a freshman, you're coming on campus. So I think that exposure during the summer will kind of hopefully helps alleviate that fear of what it's like to be a minority on a campus that to where you are now, one of just a very few, where you went to a high school where it was a lot of you all that looked like one another. So like I said, our program doesn't necessarily address that specifically, but I do think having a group mentorship program and having that ECU college program over the summer hopefully helps expose them to people just not like myself, but a array of people that hopefully they can start to feel comfortable around them and just feel like they can take up space and you don't have to feel like you have to shrink to fit in.
Okay, thank you. Those are soft skills that you all are teaching. And by the way, Campus Connections was a college tour program run by a husband and a wife, and they took students to all of the HBCUs on visits.
College roommate.
So we have one last question, because our special guest is actually here now. So we have one last question, then we're going to transition. Okay, so Winston.
All the guests are special, you know. Everybody's special. So Kayla, kind of, you just mentioned, you said you don't know what you don't know, right? My question is kind of based on that ideology where we ask kids who are 17 years old, to say, hey, go find a major and figure out what you want to do for the rest of adulthood. And even our ambitious parents who have the best intentions, they drive us to spaces where it's more just like ethic and values without knowing real direction. Admittedly, I didn't know the world of professional services and how deep it went until I had an opportunity to collaborate with Deloitte. And I see that many, like 10 presidents, the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, Apple, Google, they are all alumnus of either EY or Deloitte. So I wanted to know, and Aaron as well as you, and I know it might be a bit taboo, that we do not tell kids, or we ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Instead of saying, here's a fast track to some money. So how does EY kind of show that these kids, this is what you do, but this is what you'll get paid, and this is what you can do. This is what the trajectory could be.
I'm glad you asked that question because a part of the program is, and we had this in early January where we had a panel of executives at EY from many different backgrounds, from tax to technology consulting to accounting. Because a lot of people think that when you're working at EY, you do taxes or everybody does accounting, everybody does CPA, and that's not true, right? Like you mentioned, it's a vast array of backgrounds. Some people are accountants, some people are CPAs, some people aren't CPAs, right? And that's the beauty of a professional services firm, is that it's a conglomerate of so many different people with so many different skills, but they all have a niche within our firm because it's so big that we need people who are in tech consulting, we need advisors, we need auditors to make the whole business run around. But when we tell students about EY, we tell them that, hey, look, if you have an interest in something, there's a place for you here. We have marketing specialists, we have talent, people who put together our programs that we have for training sessions. So if there's anything that interests you, I'm pretty sure EY has it, and if we don't, we probably will start to have it, right? And we're getting into the AI component of things, and so we like to tell students that, hey, look, if you want a place here, there is a place for you here, but like you mentioned, it's not all about the money. So is this a place that's going to leave you fulfilled, right? Do you know your personality traits? When I was in community college, my dad was like, hey, I think you'd be a good accountant. And so he kind of pushed me into that field, and I was like, okay, I want to be a CPA. And so obviously that happened, but I think I wish I would have took a step back and figured out, like, what exactly do I want to do? And so for me, now that I'm getting older, every year I always reevaluate, like, okay, am I happy with this? Am I fulfilled? Do I want to switch to something else within EY? And so I think that's the beauty of it, is that there's so many different places that you can move internally as well, to make sure you're getting that level of career satisfaction and fulfillment, but also making sure that you're able to do things, be a part of things like this. So for me, we tell students that, hey, look, you can make a lot of money at EY doing the things that we do, but also want to make sure that you're fulfilled in whatever career path that you feel called to do, because the money isn't always going to keep you happy. And so if you don't have that level of passion or level of desire to continue to do what you do, the money is no longer going to be that driving factor. And so I think it's just something that not only do we tell students, but I also take that same advice for myself to make sure I'm reevaluating my career, making sure that I'm fulfilled with what I continue to do.
I think it's twofold for us. We're fortunate to have, well, no surprise in Charlotte, but a number of financial institutions that partner with us. Bank of America, we do an awesome program with them called Better Money Habits. And so I think the first step really is in this program, they're learning basic financial literacy, but they're also learning kind of what life looks like on different salaries, let's say, right? So if I envision myself with the Porsche and the $800,000 house and all of that, it breaks down how much I need to earn and all the costs that I may not be thinking about, like car insurance for that Porsche, to be able to afford that type of lifestyle. And then beyond that, we're fortunate to have a number of corporate partners. So whether it be Honeywell or Albemarle Corporation, Wells Fargo, TIAA, we take visits. We probably do 6 to 8 visits each year to different corporations. exposing them to maybe their primary line of business. So Honeywell obviously is a tech company, so they'll learn about tech careers, but to Kayla's point, they will also learn about the business side of things, marketing, sales, maybe the kind of back office and administrative functions as well. So they get to see the full range of opportunities within a company, and so we try to expose them to that as much as possible, because really a lot of our students are coming to us with limited exposure about colleges, but also about careers too, through no fault of their own, right? So they're thinking, okay, if I want to make a living, if I want to make money, I got to be a doctor, I got to be a lawyer, I got to be an engineer, but there's so many other careers out there, some of which require a lot less time and money to make those type of earnings as well. So I think that's incumbent upon the organizations to make sure that kids have that exposure to those options.
Thank you so much. Let's give these two young people a big hand.